What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video. And today we are breaking down a brand new 2024 NFL mock draft. As you can see in the title, this is going to be a fun one. We're going to be talking about a lot of QBs in this. So if you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube at this point. Also, feel free to check out all the other videos that I have been doing. Just dropped a 3-round mock draft. Yes, I did. I know I'm insane, but I love you guys and I'm willing to put in the blood, sweat, tears, and eye bags in order to be able to get you guys some good content. So let's get through this. And we've been grinding a lot of tape recently as well. And there's been some major risers on my board. Not in the top 32, but we've been having quite a few guys enter the top 64. So you guys will be able to hear about that pretty soon because I think I'm going to start making some, diamonds in the rough, the gems videos because that's my favorite. I love the gems. So let's get on with the video. Starting off with the number 1 overall selection. These are just Super Bowl odds. Again, don't get mad at me for the record. The Cardinals go Caleb Williams. I think Kyler Murray is awesome. I just want to address that because, Cardinals fans are probably going to get continuously demoralized by seeing that their quarterback that they just paid a shit ton of money to and probably I think 90 million in guarantee is, or 90 million dead cap is kind of being replaced and kicked out. Like, K1 is an absolute beast, and even though he has some weird ass pictures of him in a sports bra looking thing, which again, it's just kind of designed for sports metrics, it is a little bit funny looking. I don't know why they couldn't make a better looking design, but that's not here nor there. Caleb Williams has more talent than K1, and I really did love Kyler Murray coming out. He was one of the first quarterbacks I ever really did watch, and it sucks to see that you're continuously saying K1's gone. I don't know if they would do this. Personally, I know the value of a quarterback is invaluable, and Caleb Williams to me is the most special quarterback that I have seen. That's including Trevor Lawrence. And y'all know me and my love for Trevor Lawrence this year. I have him as my MVP candidate. So again, I am emphasizing the fact that I do believe that Caleb Williams is a superstar. I believe Kyler Murray is a superstar. I think Caleb Williams might be invaluable. That's my support for taking Caleb Williams. The counter depends on how much value you'll get from trading out. I don't think I would sit here and the more I think about it, take Marvin Harrison Jr. I love Marvin. I think he's going to be probably a gold jacket style player. But when it comes down to it, this receiving class is extremely deep. And I'd rather get like 4 or 5 first round picks and Keon Coleman than Marvin Harrison. Pretty bold to say that, but you all know my love for Johnny Wilson. I would obviously take that with Johnny Wilson even more, but I just have to address that. I think Caleb Williams is the obvious number 1 selection. They do believe the Texans apparently are the lowest Super Bowl odds at the moment, but that'd be a good spot to flip, a pick that wasn't even yours for a superstar, or for a ton of picks. But if you are here and get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't think anybody's going to be crying about it, especially if K1 gets to go to a good place and, deal with the money later. Olu Fashanu, this guy has unbelievable mirroring ability. So I think the left tackle spot is a good spot to go to for the Colts. I know I have a resident Colts fan who absolutely detests the idea of going offensive line for this team, but they need it. They do. We will see if Bernard Ryman can hold up over the season. This is projecting towards the future. Yes, this is not set in stone. Bernard Ryman could become a very solid left tackle. I was low on him from the beginning, so naturally I'm going to support the left tackle pick. If it were a guy who I had a little bit more faith in coming into the draft process, then I would be probably like pushing back on this idea and saying, hey, let's go a different route. Let's look at an edge rusher, for example. Let's look at corners. I think corner is a smarter idea if you can trade out. And that's me, an offensive line fanatic, saying that I would trade out of this spot and get a cornerback later because this team's pretty damn desperate. They're crap at the cornerback position. And Julius Brents was one of those guys who I liked, not to the Colts, but I did like him. Olu Fashanu, if they do end up staying here, is a very solid selection. He's going to be boosting up my board. The more I saw how he played, just the ability to change directions and mirror is unlike most tackles I've ever seen. His athleticism's off the charts. I think he still has major issues with his anchor. I still think that he has a lot of room to grow in that category. But when it comes down to it, I think that I'm willing to work around those issues. Again, Olu is number 19 on my board right now. It's not like I think he's chopped liver by any stretch of the imagination. And I just value the anchor statistic a lot more than a lot of people because I think the stability of the pocket anchor, for you guys who don't know, is can you get pushed back by offensive linemen, like, or by defensive linemen? Do you have the ability to, like a boat, stick an anchor into the ground and be able to stay in place? He has a very tough time doing that, even at 320 pounds. But those movement skills are very rare. It's hard to find a guy like that, and maybe it's worth taking a shot on it because you have a really athletic quarterback. It would be good to get an athletic offensive lineman. The Titans go back to the QB room. Don't think this would be the right move. I personally am not super duper high on Drake Maye. That's me. Again, I'm perfectly happy being wrong, and I've been trying every single time I watch Drake Maye to convince myself that I am wrong. But it's just a simple fact, just like CJ Stroud at the start of last year. I eventually got on the CJ Stroud train a little bit at the end, but I just couldn't pull myself to fully believe in it. And whether I'm right or wrong is beside the point. What I owe you guys is honesty. And a lot of times there's quarterbacks that slip and, there's these fourth round steals that if somebody put them above a bust in the first round, not saying Drake Maye is that, again, let's clarify that. But if somebody were willing to put a Brock Purdy above, I forget who the other quarterbacks were in that draft. Actually, no, I don't. But let's just say they put him above Matt Corral. People would be berating the hell out of that person. Above Sam Howell, even though I love Sam Howell. Like, people would be berating the hell out of someone who loved Brock Purdy to that degree. And, that's at the end of the day, it's not the order that they're selected in, the order that people think they should go that truly matters. It's honestly system fit, but also that base level talent. And when it comes to Drake Maye, I personally don't believe in the prospect on the field the way that a lot of other people do. I still think he's a good quarterback. I just know that there are a lot of issues to his game. Mechanically, he's extremely flawed, does not have very good lower body mechanics. A lot of his missed throws happen because he just does not know how to use his lower half of his body very well. I think that the ball velocity is not super duper elite. And the reason why people fall in love with him is that highlight reel. Because when everything goes right, this man can put it into a 1-by-1 box. But the game of the NFL is consistency. And inconsistency kills quarterbacks. I haven't been that wrong with many of these quarterbacks that I've been uncomfortable with because of their inconsistency. Does that mean that trend will continue? No, because every single prospect's a different player. It's not like a mathematical algorithm. But when I'm uncomfortable with a player who is extremely inconsistent, that's when I'm going to feel like I need to take a step back and reevaluate the situation. I had Drake Maye originally as my QB2 coming into the year. I think if he continues to progress his game, he eventually will very well end up there. But at this moment, I cannot support him at my number 2 QB position, especially when Will Levis should at least get a chance to start for this team. You can get a top-tier offensive tackle in Joe Alt and pair him up with Peter Skoronski, who was pretty much the consensus best interior offensive lineman last year, /tackle. So you can have a god-tier O-line with a developmental quarterback, and who knows, you'll probably, if he sucks that badly, you'll suck again, and then you'll get another really good QB. No reason to force it. I'd rather also make sure Drake Maye does not continue having offensive line problems in the future. So again, I think that it's the best option to build in the trenches first. Brock Bowers is next. Apologies for the extensive 10 minutes that we have spent talking about the first 4 picks. It's going to pick up here. Brock Bowers is an excellent selection for Washington. I would personally be starting to value that left tackle / offensive tackle in general spot with Joe Alt. I think that I'm not going to shame this pick because I do it myself quite often. It's hard to honestly counter this pick because tight end class is super thin. Offensive tackle class much deeper, but yeah, I'm not gonna shame this pick. And whatever, we're gonna continue on. The Bucs going Joe Alt would be ridiculous. Him paired with Tristan Wirfs is going to be a god tier combination. So I fully support that pick. Again, kind of the exact opposite route that we just saw right here, where this team desperately needs a QB. The Titans, not so much. Because again, you have developmental quarterbacks. The Buccaneers, they need it. And they're going and building through the trenches. To be fair, I think this team is good enough to where you should probably start trying to target a quarterback, but that's beyond the point. Laiatu Latu is the first edge to come off the board. Had to medically retire because of a neck injury there at Washington. Ended up coming back for UCLA, and kind of funny because I'm pretty sure that the exact opposite thing happened, or not the exact opposite, but for Jordan Phillips, he was a UCLA edge defender, and I think he had to medically retire, or he was on UCLA said that we won't take you in because of concussions, and he went to Miami to play. But beside the point, Leatu's a really fun player. He's always been a stat machine. Don't look at the pressures and instantly think that he is God tier. I will say he has a great frame. He has unbelievable length as well. He'll probably measure out in that 34 to 35 inch arm range, which is awesome. He's a really good athlete, but I don't think he converts speed to power very well. I think he's still learning the nuances of the game. And Coastal Carolina, let's pump the brakes on evaluating their offensive linemen like they would be comparable to NFL. So again, just let's pump the brakes because 10 pressures is wonderful. Good players should be performing well against poor offensive linemen, but let's not raise them on a pedestal because they beat subpar offensive linemen. No disrespect for the people who play for for Coastal Carolina, but at the same time, we just have to be realists here. Then we got Jared Verse to the Bears, so maybe this guy's a Bears fan. Don't know why they couldn't get a higher quality image, but that, beside the point. I don't know if he's 260 pounds. I thought he was 250. If he's up to 260, that's awesome. Jared Verse is the best pure pass rusher in the class. And I have him there at 8 on my board. So, obviously going to be a pretty big supporter of this one. Jared is an awesome player. He has all the speed to power that you'll be looking for. He has the technique. He has the bend. And there's not really anything that's bad to his game whatsoever. He is a blue chip quality player. So good for him. He is a beast. And, I'm not going to shame this pick whatsoever. Kool-Aid McKinstry, I'm not shaming this one either. They need a boundary corner number 2. Been saying it for the past 2 years, and they haven't done it for the past 2 years. And finally, they get it done. Kool-Aid McKinstry is a top-tier defensive back. I think of him, maybe not the exact same, but within the certain atmospheric level as Sauce Gardner when he came out, because Sauce has garnered the highest grade I've ever given a player. And Kool-Aid, not in that range, but I do get those glimpses for sure. Steelers going Jerson Newton. This team definitely is not going to value a defensive tackle that highly. I'll be perfectly willing to admit I'm wrong if that does happen. But we have a ton of defensive interior talent on this team. We need corner still. You got Kalen King on the board that can pair up with Joey Porter. We need linebacker support, which we have taken at number 10 before. I really hope that we wouldn't do that, but it is what it is. Right tackle as well. Some people are talking about center. That's more of a later round issue. I like Mason Cole personally. I don't think that we need to upgrade from that position. But other positions down the board, running back. I know a lot of people love Jalen Warren, but I don't see a top 10 running back in the NFL with him. I don't see it with Najee either. And I think they're both serviceable guys. So again, spend a 6th round pick on another running back, see what happens. But I think defensive interior is one of the positions I would be pushing much lower on my priority list. Love Jerson Newton, even though he didn't perform too well this past week. But, it is what it is. Bo Nix for the Patriots. I could totally see that happening. That's a weird thing. I've never put that together, but he feels like he could be a Patriots quarterback. And he'd be a good one, too. He has the pocket awareness that a Patriots quarterback should honestly have. But what I love about Bo Nix is the fact that he'll add a little bit more athleticism to the game. He's able to be a good game manager, and he is my number 3 quarterback in the class. I do fully believe in Bo Nix. He ended up putting up an 80 burger, but, it is against Portland State, which I can't shame him too much. 2 of my former players that I used to play and start for Portland State. So no dig at you guys, but it is what it is. Bo Nix is a very good quarterback. I think he'd be a new level of energy that is brought to that Patriots room. And I would love to see Bill O'Brien use a guy like Bo Nix because now he has a little bit more of that athleticism he's looking for. Intriguing to see how he would compare with Matt Corral or compete with him, but I don't think quarterback competition is a bad thing whatsoever. We got the Packers going Graham Barton. Again, I'm going to be going after a left tackle if I'm going for what the Packers should go for on offensive line. Beside that, defensive back, corner, you got a couple guys coming up on contracts, safety for sure. Other positions, quarterback, if you are sitting at 12, Jordan Love is not there forever. Like, again, you're going to have to pay good money or at least mediocre money to be able to pay for Jordan Love. So if you're there at 12, again, if you're there at 12, I know there's a lot of Jordan Love truthers. This is what happens if you're there at 12. Get that in your head. Then I would be totally going after a quarterback at this spot. You got Cedric Van Pran for the Bears. Intriguing. He could play center or guard for you. I don't think that center should be remotely valued at pick 13. And I don't think he's a good enough interior offensive lineman to be worth probably even 26. And I'm not going to shame a team for going him at the late first because I've honestly done that myself in some of my mock drafts. But, this is way too early. I don't think this is going to be a massive need. There's also good defense or offensive interior linemen down the board. So this definitely feels like a huge reach. Raiders at 14. That's ridiculous that they're here on the Super Bowl odds. That is ridiculous. I don't get that, but beside the point, we have JJ McCarthy. JJ had an amazing week number 1. Amazing. He should have been one of my stars of the week. If I'm going to be honest, I don't think I put him there, but that's because he went against Eastern Carolina. If we're going to, I have to give credit to the guys who compete against really talented teams. I don't think Eastern Carolina is necessarily the best of those teams, but he had some incredible plays. Got to give him credit where credit is due. I would love to see him in that 212 range, but, he's up from 190 to 200. We'll see if he can continue making that jump because he has great athleticism, and I think if he continues having more of an NFL build at quarterback, then we're going to see a lot more ascension from JJ McCarthy in terms of the eyes of the more heavier scouting community. Barrett Carter is next for the Giants. I'm not going to shame him because I think that it does get a little bit in the way of if they end up extending Isaiah Simmons, but I'm not going to shame it. And I thought Barrett Carter was not 6'1". Pretty sure he's like 6'3" or 6'4". We got to check that out eventually. But yeah, Barrett Carter, if I'm not mistaken, is much larger than that. That looks like the statistics for Jeremiah Trotter, because I know Jeremiah Trotter is 6'1" or 6 foot. So then we got Kalen King. That's a perfect pick for the Vikings. So great for them. I think that their secondary is crap. Been saying it. Wasn't a fan of Andrew Booth. Was a fan of Lewis Seam before he snapped his leg in half. And then besides that, I think that they need veteran presence to help out with who they get, Mekhi Blackman. But, Kalen King's a massive upgrade. Keon Coleman fits exactly what the Broncos are probably going to be looking for. They've been trying to get rid of Cortland Sutton for like 10,000 years at this point. So they'll probably get rid of him and then end up getting Keon Coleman, which is an A+ replacement. Michael Penix stays in Washington. I think that the Seahawks are going to value athleticism a lot more. I don't think Michael Penix is a bad athlete, but I think he's way too raw in terms of his lower mechanics to be usable and viable as a mobile passer. So I'm a little bit worried about the inconsistencies there. He's definitely built to be in a pocket passing system. If Kalen King weren't there, I'd fully support the Vikings. That's my dream fit for him because he also looks really good in purple. But, I would love the idea of, especially if you're at pick 18, again, emphasis on where they are. Pick 18, I definitely would be valuing that quarterback position. But maybe not Michael Penix, even though he is higher than a couple of the quarterbacks that have been taken before. Chop Robinson is next. I doubt that they'll go after Chop when, he ended up, or when they ended up drafting, Isaiah Foskey in the second round. Don't think that they're going to continue hitting the edge route. If they are here at pick 19, offensive interior lineman is interior offensive lineman is a huge one. But other positions of note, safety, corner, they do need some help there. Emeka Egbuka is at pick number 20. And it kills me in my mock draft that he fell to around this range. So spoiler alert. There's just really good receivers in this class. You're going to be able to feast if you have a later first round pick. I don't know how they made this happen, but they made it happen. Emeka should be going way before this, but it is what it is. I can't say much. Emeka is a great player. He deserves to be a top 15, if not top 10 player. Packer Paul's complete butt cheeks. I'm sorry. He is my lowest graded offensive lineman. People talk about him doing well versus Tyree Wilson. I watched that game. The whole game. He did not. I don't know where this narrative is coming from, but he did not. I don't get it. I really don't. I really don't get it. There's so many better offensive tackles in this class. Leonard Taylor to the Chargers, I fully support. Super high upside. Just needs to make sure that he is in full conditioned mode to be able to be a 3-down/4 down starter. Nate Wiggins, I don't know, after Clemson's been getting absolutely chewed apart by Mr. Duke over there, if Nate Wiggins is necessarily going to be looked at super highly. I don't think Nate Wiggins is necessarily a great corner. He was the reason why I fell in love with Johnny Wilson. Like, just got to be full transparency here. That was the game that got me into Johnny Wilson. Obviously, I watched a lot more, but, Nate Wiggins, I don't think is that spectacular. He has some super high-level plays, but certainly underwhelming, to say the least. I love the idea of the Detroit Lions going after a wide receiver 1 style. I don't know if Rome will ever be an X. I don't really believe in Rome, but I'm excited to see more All-22 because it's extremely limited at the moment. And I'm thinking about hopping to a different provider of All-22 just so, it's going to cost me 10 or 20 times as much per month, but it might honestly be worth it because the tape is way more available. And I just want to dig into Rome Odunze tape a lot more. There's just super limited tape out there, and I did not like what I saw. And again, you guys are owed honesty more than anything. Speaking of a guy who I'm not very high on, JT Tuimalau, I think the Ravens can always use some extra pass rush. They've just always naturally been a team that has a billion edge rushers, but I would look at defensive interior for him, linebacker, because they got Trent Simpson developing, but you do eventually need to have a third linebacker in there. Don't think that needs to be a first-round pick, but, we ball. Corner, huge one. I think they've been kind of desperate for a boundary corner since Marcus Peters is now gone, and, Marlon Humphrey can't do it himself. So I think there's better positions than that. Malik Neighbors to the Jets. It is, I doubt that they'll have this pick. So, we'll just imagine Aaron Rodgers got injured and somehow they still made it this far. Beats me. But I don't think that wide receiver is a bad move for him. I don't think so. But, we'll just leave it as is. I don't really want to address a pick that's highly unlikely. You got Jatavian Sanders to the Cowboys. I think tight end is a position that they need to address. I don't know what's going on with that hairline, tan line, so I feel bad for Jatavian because they just did him dirty on that. Or his barber did him dirty. One of the two. But I don't think that this is very good value for Jatavian Sanders. I just don't. You got J.C. Latham here for the Bengals. Too raw for me. Too raw. Again, I've seen conflicting figures of 330 and 360. Seriously, I have no idea what he weighs, but, super duper raw. Excited to see him develop over the year, and I hope he gets better and better, but not a fan of what I've seen so far. Just got to call it out. Niners go Shedeur. Here we go. They go after another quarterback. So they brought in Sam Darnold. They got rid of Trey. They got Brock. Now they got Shedeur. Honestly, I'd be in full support of this, even as a Brock Purdy fan. And again, he was, I believe, my number 6 quarterback in that draft. So I have been a supporter of him for a while now. I'm going to be a full supporter if they get Shedeur Sanders. I think his talent level is just a little bit higher. His play style is unique. I don't know if he'll work in San Fran. Because, honestly, if we're going to be completely frank, since RG3, athletic quarterbacks don't work with Shanahan. They just don't. You just have to have more of that pocket passer. And Shedeur doesn't really fit that. But Shedeur has proven that he can just be a pure passer. So it might work. It might. But I kind of think it's worth taking the risk. This team doesn't need that much. They have way too many high-paid dudes. Like, you're going to be in cap hell. And the best thing to do is reduce the amount of money you have to pay on quarterbacks. And if Shedeur is able to step in and start, you don't have to repay Brock Purdy. You can maybe trade Brock for a first-round pick. God only knows what the hell you can get out of that dude. But if Shedeur ends up being a great player, a late first-round pick is not worth, or it's totally worth taking a flyer. Jeremiah Trotter. So maybe I was wrong. He's 6 foot 230. So I think this would be an excellent pick for the Bills. I thought Barrett Carter was like 6'3". I don't get that. You got Dallas Turner for the Eagles. This is ridiculous. Obviously, you guys know I have Dallas Turner as my number 6 and technically number 1 edge rusher, but number 6 overall in the draft. Soon to be number 5 because I still have yet to drop Joe all on down my board. But Dallas Turner is a freak of nature. The Eagles get him. I will continue ripping out my hair, but he also doesn't really fit the edge rushing profile that they're looking for. They want someone who's like 260 plus because that's where Barnett, BG, like that's the role that they want to replace, not the Nolan Smith role that they just ended up putting a guy into. So it is what it is. Makai Wingo doesn't deserve to be up here. I like the idea of defensive tackle, but Makai Wingo, like of all defensive interiors, that's the one you go with? I don't know about that. That seems a little bit sus to me, Chief. You got Chris Jenkins, who is an absolute monster that, the Chiefs, I think, wanted to go after Mozzie Smith last year. It'd be a pretty good idea to end up going after a guy who I think is even better than Mozzie Smith. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the far side. Peace.